so much for coming to our podcast, Montessori. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks, Karine. It's lovely to collaborate with you. My name's Richard. Richard Michael is my surname, which always causes a little bit of confusion having two first names. Well, I'm Australian and I'm now living here in Spain.
I'm both a practitioner and lecturer in Montessori education. What drives you to continue in the field of Montessori education?
Very, very nice question. And again, we come back to the word passion and the desire to keep on learning myself. I think it's so important that the teachers don't just stop. And when I lecture these young students, they seem so young to me when I go back. I've been invited to collaborate, and I couldn't myself use the word lecture for myself, and I say that to the students. I'm very humble about sort of like my capacity to, but it's sort of like sharing experiences like we're doing now in this talk. So they're very interested in this, and it's 3 hours. It was very challenging when I first started, but I've collaborated for more than 7 years now with this particular university and a couple of others as well. But the one in particular, which I've done more work with, is that these young children, well, children, adults they are really, yes, but they seem like children to me, although they're so naive and in what they've taken on. And you sometimes feel challenged to say, well, why have you chosen this? Like you say to me, like I said, Maria Montessori found me. And I transmit this to them, the importance of bringing what they have in their own lives to their careers. Also, it's just not, okay, you do your 3 or 4 years training and then that's it. Okay, you go into school and you have a job. I try to use the word, it's not a job, because I discovered it becomes a mission. You are standing there doing one of the most important things that you can give to society, forging young children for the future, as Maria Montessori says. This thing of sort of saying, well, I can sense that sometimes that, oh, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do, but, or maybe I'll try teaching. But I know that from the feedback that I've had, because the person, the director of the course has often sent me feedback from listening to the lecture, and they've come to the school. So sometimes I have gone to the university, but I find it much more rewarding when they can come into the classroom and see how the teacher sets up what we call the prepared environment, and how the children learn to work on their own and become the master of their own future. So it's that sort of thing again, to sort of say, you grow, you bring all of your experience to help the children. Like when I said before that I grew up with Aboriginal people, they taught me so much about nature and how to survive and care for nature, and many other things like my flamenco dancing, etc., and my passion for reading, and I worked as an actor as well in Australia. So all of these things, and my love for music that my family taught me, you must bring to the children to share this thing of culture, because I think the most important thing, I think, in the Montessori classroom, okay, they learn to concentrate, they learn from practical life and sensorial, how to concentrate and choose their own work, move freely, and respect others, respect the environment. But it then leads, I think, into the other paths of world culture and respect for others and the dignity of life.
Wow, this is really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing these wonderful words, because we, as an educator, we face so many challenges on a daily basis. And literally, minute by minute, second by minute, second sometimes. And so it's always sometimes it can be difficult to keep that passion in, if that flame in your heart. Looking ahead, what are your aspirations for the future of Montessori education in Spain and beyond?
Well, it's so interesting because out of the blue, sometimes I get a message on my phone saying, Richard, this woman wants to be in contact with you. Or and you get in touch with her and she says, Richard, I've got a child now. You knew me when I was a young girl, but you know, I have a child now and I'm interested in Montessori and whatever. And so you tell her what you're doing. She said, oh, well, that's wonderful. I'm living in a very small rural place like yourself. But she said, I'm checking out all things. She's prepared to move to another village if she can find a school that is alternative to what is offered in mainstream education. Another woman who was here in the village is now working but lives in Valencia. She's now working with aged people who she wants now for me to collaborate in bringing Montessori material like sensorial and all of these things and practical life exercises for elderly people who they find are benefiting from these things. So it's not just contained now within school or from children, especially from the 3 to 6 years age group, which is where so much can happen. I mean, some schools I would love to see. I had a wonderful experience in going to Girona for a course that celebrated 100 years of being established. Well, Maria Montessori lived in Barcelona for some years after she had to get out of Italy because her form of thinking wasn't appreciated at the time. So she came to Barcelona. And so Catalonia has a strong connection with Montessori education. So this school then celebrated in a way with a wonderful course, which then led me into listening to something new for me, which was, now help me here, Karina, it's when we study the brain. What's it called?
Neuroscience.
Neuroscience, that's it. A wonderful lecturer from Canada was there speaking about neuroscience, which opened another door for me to which I have continued studying. But in her lecture, she said nearly everything that Montessori did, and even though she graduated from medical school, was correct. It's been proven correct. And so, but now Montessori then goes on from strength to strength because it's connected with neuroscience in such a wonderful way. So old age people, children who are working in Granada, that I am now collaborating with a woman who has a school with children with learning difficulties, you know. So she's now swinging over to using many of the techniques or philosophy of helping these children instead of just being placed in being separated. They then go on to grow and appreciate many aspects of their life which are denied them in sort of institutional type education. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, of course, and it's really, really inspiring. And really, thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom and life experience. Really, it's such a journey. So this is really amazing. The last question is: would you like to share a quote that inspired you in your journey as an educator?
There's so many, and there's one that I'm not going to use today, but I just love it because I'll just do this off the top of my head, but then I have got a quote, is that she always said, Maria Montessori, that the aim of being a teacher was that you could stand back and become invisible in the class from these lovely books, the Absorbent Mind and the Discovery of the Child, which are just references that are continually reading. But she talks in the Absorbent Mind on page 258 And she's talking about love and how children all of a sudden at some time can stop and open their heart to you in a way that's incredible. And she says there are two levels of love. Often when we speak of our love for children, we refer to the care we take of them, the caresses and affection we shower on those we know and who arouse our tender feelings. But I am speaking of something different. It is a level of love which is no longer personal or material. To serve the children is to feel one is serving the spirit of man, a spirit which has to free itself. The difference of level has truly been set not by the teacher, but by the child. It is the teacher who feels she has been lifted to a height she never knew before. The child has made her grow till she is brought within his sphere. And that is from The Absorbent Mind, page 258. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, that was a really lovely, lovely interview, or, you know, it was a very, very special what you shared, and I'm very, very happy with everything. So thank you so much for sharing this wonderful inspiration, your journey and everything. So I hope everyone out there, you will also feel that pulse that Richard has and pass on to all of us. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. You know, it's never, there's always things that can present themselves, and it's sort of like you get to the point where you're sort of thinking, well, as long, I used to say this at the other school, they'd often say to me, when are you going to retire, Richard? Thanks so much, Karim.
And